Hi everybody, welcome to the very first edition of MEC Tech Talk. Today we are greatly privileged to have Dr. Anton Ravindran, a multi-talented, eminent personality with us. Dr. Anton, the President of Global Science and Technology Forum and the founder and CEO of Rapid Start. And he got exceptional track records in the field of academia, industry, research and entrepreneurship. And it's my privilege to welcome Dr. Anton to this interview. Dr. Anton.
Thank you very much.
As we are aware, today's leading technologies like cloud computing, big data, mobile technologies, and IoT are created a paradigm shift in ICT. What do you think about the future of this paradigm shift in next generation computing?
Thanks for the opportunity. To answer your question specifically, let me say a few things. First of all, as we have seen over the last 1 to 2 decades, in the context of information technology, and now which includes communication technologies, ICT, we have seen several disruptions. If I roll back, let's say 2 decades ago, we saw the first browser, Mosaic. Since then, we have seen many developments, including mobile technologies. And of late, we have seen cloud computing in the last 10 years or so. 1996, 97, thereabouts, Amazon was the first to introduce cloud computing as a service. Since then, there has been phenomenal growth in terms of really promoting ubiquitous computing. Literally, every human being on the face of the earth will have some means to get in contact through mobile technologies. To that end, I would like to highlight the fact that 90% of the land mass in the world today receives mobile signal. The penetration of mobile technologies coupled with the advances in cloud computing is really beginning to disrupt the world again, but in a very positive manner. We are at the forefront of seeing the next wave, which is essentially going to transform the way we do business, the way we live, etc., as we have seen over the last 20 years or so. So this is the beginning of the next disruption of technology to transform individual lives, to transform communities and nations for the betterment of mankind, frankly, because we would see better healthcare systems because of this, better utilization of energy, better transport systems in cities. We will be able to take care of the elderly in a much more efficient and effective manner because they don't need to leave home to get a treatment. They don't need to leave home to have care by elderly care. There are various developments. We would also see better improvements in terms of energy utilization, which seems to be a global problem. So long and short of it is we are at the cusp, we are at the stage where we are going to see the next disruptive technological development, but for the betterment of society at large.
Yeah, well, so it sounds to me that we are now in a transition stage. If I'm not mistaken, we are moving from an information age to an intelligence age.
Absolutely.
So, in this landscaping, how could the corporate sector will cope up with this shifting, in your opinion?
Right. Well, very aptly said that the new age, many would call it information intelligence age, if you will. We have transforming from digital age, that is what is today, cyber age, that is what is today, to the next era of intelligence age. Intelligence age, basically what it means is, to many of us, is that we would be able to deal with information that is live, as opposed to static data sets, but real-time data. Real-time data that would feed into computing architecture so that we could make decisions on the spot, at the same time when we receive the data, as opposed to going back to historical information and performing modeling and analysis and then forecasting what would happen. So for example, this can be used in many facets in terms of managing traffic in a city. It could be used in terms of energy grids and managing your home appliances. It could be used in the airlines industry, where we could stream data while the aircraft is on the sky, so that we can do any maintenance work that would be needed for some emergency purposes. So for businesses, it's going to present enormous opportunities, from healthcare, such as telemedicine, to transportation systems, for governments in terms of managing better energy, for citizens in terms of healthcare, education. All facets of it is going to be based on real insight and not based on hindsight.
Well, that makes more clarity on that. But when it moved towards this kind of an intelligence age, again, it seems like the things or the physical devices are going to be getting intelligence by embedding certain technologies on that. So, what do about the trust and privacy factor when moving towards this digital intelligence? Absolutely.
Well, as we have seen in the last few years, there has been significant surge in terms of cybercrime. There has been many well-known cases. One of them is the hacking of the Sony Entertainment enterprise by a group called the Guardians of Peace, where they ran away with 10, if I'm right, terabytes of information. Then there has been many cases of accessing data, private information about individuals, customers, etc. So there has been a surge, and it's expected, because when things become ubiquitous and when we are dealing with enormous volume of data, personal, private, business, even government, to the extent of, I'm told that nearly 5,000 exabytes of information today, and it's growing by the day. Naturally, there would be circumstances where that people with criminal intent would try to exploit that. And also, as I said earlier on, today's mobile devices also plays as a vector in terms of how people can penetrate into the systems. But the good thing is there are frameworks that is being put in place. There are standards that are evolving, and also governments are implementing regulations. And based on that, we have various initiatives, including the Cloud Security Alliance initiative. There are other similar frameworks, methodologies, tools, and also even vendors in the IT industry have come up with various products. Leading vendors such as Symantec, which is now part of Intel, even to some extent Trend Micro, which offers security services on the cloud. That means that you don't need to invest significantly to maintain a very secure system. So on one hand, it has opened up opportunities for criminal elements to exploit the system. But on the other hand, governments, both private sector as well as public, that is government and the industry, as well as academia, are working together to put together frameworks, regulations, guidelines, etc., to deal with it. So I would think that it is no different from our past conventional systems where we had difficulties. We are seeing more of it because we see more of computing today than ever before.
So coming back to cloud computing, I know that this is a pretty elemental question for you, but for the sake of my viewers, see, cloud computing, earlier it was there, at least in the form of its predecessors like distributed architecture or client server computing or even into grid computing, whatever name you used to call. But coming back to cloud computing, what exactly the unique features that the cloud computing is offering to the end consumers? At least if you are going to handpick 3 took ones, what are the most salient ones we can handpick?
Let me put cloud computing in perspective. The vision of cloud computing is to have computing power, computing capabilities that is almost like, let's say, electricity. The intent is to make sure that cloud computing becomes, the vision is cloud computing to become the fifth utility. Basically, the idea is to have infinite amount of computing power, elasticity in terms of computing, scalability in terms of computing. And also, the other key feature is to buy computing power, storage, etc. on a need basis, that you pay as you use, rather than you buy and then maintain it. So you buy what you need when you need it, use when you need it, from anywhere, anytime, as a utility, as we see it with, if I can liken that to electricity. Now, having said that, I would put it in this way. Cloud computing has done few things for the general public in large and also enterprises. Number one, it has commoditized computing, by making sure that the price has dropped and you buy and use as and when you need it. Secondly, it also has democratized computing. In the past, if we need some heavy duty, if you will, and complex applications, and you need complex computing infrastructure, and you need very highly experienced, skilled team of ICT professionals to really run those systems and develop those applications. And that was not possible for small to medium enterprises, because they have to make heavy investments in infrastructure, in applications, and also a team of IT professionals. But today, it is a pay-per-use service, so anybody could buy and anybody could use as and when they need it. By doing so, we have sort of democratized computing, if you will. We have sort of commoditized computing, if you will. And that is naturally driving computing the vision of really being ubiquitous. Anybody can afford to buy, anybody can use from anywhere, from any device, anytime. And that's a real benefit of cloud computing.
That's great. So well noted that the scalability, high processing power, and the ultimate mobility. That means from anywhere at any time and any devices. It's very clear that this cloud computing is ensuring these kind of extreme functionalities. But at the same time, whenever talking about the cloud computing, a bit of agony is still there with the business sector towards its security. Yeah. I mean, cloud security is an evergreen topic for the discussions. So, in your viewpoint, what mechanism has been taken by this IT setup to cater the need of this agony, or in another way, to succeed the agonies of this business domain, especially on cloud security?
I think we spoke about it earlier, but I'll come back. If I have to come back to it, I would put it this way. First of all, there is a lot of myth and fallacy and some level of, if you will, fear-mongering about the security issues with regards to cloud computing. Many of us see it as this is nothing different from our traditional computing systems that we have had. But having said that, I don't want to trivialize the challenges also. We cannot any longer exist by merely having a firewall and antivirus installed on our machines, because naturally we have become a world that is connected to networks of networks, that is connected from every device to one other device. So in such a scenario where there is ubiquitous computing, networks of computing, naturally there will be many points for somebody to hack the system, people with criminal intent to take advantage of it. And like I said earlier on, that there are several initiatives by industry, by government, and by professional bodies in terms of setting guidelines, in terms of putting standards, in terms of governments coming up with regulations such as Sarbanes-Oxley, in terms of standards such as ISO 27002, and also in terms of frameworks such as COBIT. So all of these developments will naturally address the security concerns that we have. Secondly, there has been advances in terms of software vendors and principals developing cloud computing specific security solutions. For one, a company called Trend Micro, they offer today's cloud computing security as a service. So unlike in the past, even small to medium businesses today can have access to high quality security solutions only on a need basis. So on the other hand, it has also presented new opportunities with new threats. I don't see anything any different from the past, except there are plenty of opportunities now for both the good and the bad. So we have to address this in a very careful and tactful manner.
Well, coming to country like Oman, where we are operating our businesses and we are conducting this interview, we are highly promoting the culture of entrepreneurship. This is the high time the country is promoting entrepreneurship in all aspects. Especially in that context, the prime focus is on SMEs. So by making use of this cloud infrastructure, so what facilities that the small medium enterprises can be able to make use of this cloud infrastructure? Or in another way, I can put it in a way that what are the best possible ways where SMEs can make use of this cloud architecture? The point is that it is not economically that feasible for a SME to set up their own private cloud, as you well aware. So in terms of that perspective, their option is either they have to go for a public cloud or they have to go for a hybrid cloud. So what do you suggest about those kind of entities when they are planning to migrate to a cloud-based environment, exclusively on SMEs?
Right. Um, I'm delighted to hear that Oman is really embracing entrepreneurship. And to me, coming from an ICT background, I would call it even technopreneurship. Now, cloud is the right environment for entrepreneurship, simply because, number one, in the past, computing infrastructure, one of the challenges, the entry barriers to business to leverage from ICT or information technology is the expensive, exorbitant cost in terms of infrastructure, buying hardware, software, and also access to quality skills in terms of developing applications to do business. By being in the cloud computing space, the first thing, the investments required to leverage from technology to do new things, to do new businesses, has been taken out. So the entry barriers has been knocked down. There is no capital expenditure in terms of ICT any longer because of cloud computing. So cloud computing allows small companies to behave and act and operate as a big company, because they now have access to phenomenal amount of computing power, computing storage, and computing expertise on a need basis and pay as and when you need it. So this is naturally going to drive entrepreneurship. This is going to drive new applications, new opportunities for everyone. This is the right time for entrepreneurship, and cloud computing has actually, as I said earlier on, that is what I mean by commoditization and democratization. It is no longer confined to big businesses to leverage from information technology to create differentiation, to have competitive advantage. And that's how we see companies with 50 people being sold for $15 billion. You know the companies such as Viber, WhatsApp, and the list can go on. Today, small companies are no different from mega companies, and small companies are able to behave, feel, act, and operate as if they are big companies because of technology and because of computing technology and because of mobile technologies.
And in today's computing era, along with this cloud computing, big data chipped in a huge momentum as we are dealing with millions or trillions of data on a daily basis. So, what do you think the big data analytics can play the role in this cloud environment for predictive analysis or for better CRM for the business entities, and especially in the context of these SMEs?
Right. Well, information technology has been always used for the last 30 years or more as a differentiation in terms of competing with each other. Number one, value of information has been always a way to compete. But over the years, it has transformed and progressed. Early days, we focused on information as a data processing perspective. Gradually, we moved into information systems, later on knowledge engineering. We are today at the stage where we no longer deal with hindsight of information, but really insight of information. Not based on static data, but based on live data. So that's a distinct difference. So we are able to make decisions as and when things happen. if I have to give you a couple of examples, number one, today anybody could have a wristband or a wearable that has a cardiac monitor. That information can be immediately transmitted to a hospital, and it's being done. This is not fiction. This is not hype. This is real. And then the doctors could prescribe your medicine even without you having to leave home. Another example would be, because you're wearing a cardiac monitor in your hand, the moment you're going to get heart attack, or even before that, the system could detect, and not only do that, send you an ambulance to your home before you even have a heart attack. Further, this is real. Your pharmacy could send you the medicine even before you face a dilemma. So the opportunities are limitless, and that's what is happening today.
That is anyway in telematics, especially in healthcare, we have seen quite tremendous developments in this kind of setup. And coming back to the context of Oman again, Oman had started its initiatives for its e-governance at least few years back. And we have an exclusive agency here called Information Technology Authority, and they have taken well initiatives for this e-governance. And let's say, for example, our Royal Oman Police has taken a service integration, absolutely a web service based service integration among different servers across their platforms at all. Okay, in that context, how do these big data analytical tools like Hadoop or RapidMiner can help these kind of government entities where they are dealing with a huge volume of data on a daily basis?
Right. Without me having to dwell, because I do not know enough of how your local government are dealing with this side of things, but let me speak broadly about big data and how to deal with the enormous amount of data that you're collecting for your e-governance project. Essentially, we are dealing with voluminous data today, and the data is in all formats today. It could be simple as your Word document, to your spreadsheet, to your PowerPoint, to audios, videos, social media, and the list goes on. If I have to put it in one word, we are dealing with voluminous, unstructured data. So technologies such as Hadoop and its components, HDFS, HBase, etc., allows you to process this unstructured data without any difficulty, because our previous databases, they are based on structured data, they are based on relational databases, and they could not deal effectively and efficiently on unstructured data. So today, RapidMiner, which is an open source technology-based tool, Hadoop is a technology that allows you to process unstructured data in any format I mentioned. So we are able to process all of this information instantaneously under these because of these technologies.
Great. So again, certain other part of the world, they already moved towards governance. Okay, they have saturated with their e-governance or to an endpoint of that side, and they moved more towards the governance. And we know that the supporting facilities like the variety of handheld devices, high-speed internet, 4G, and this IP version 6 or coming versions. So they could encourage to go those kind of countries to go for governance. So what is the role of this big data again when it moves to governance? Is it more or less the same with what we are expecting now, or is there any further transition there?
Well, moving from e-governance to governance, from a data perspective, I can only see it this way and say it this way. We're going to see much more. Other than that, processing-wise is not much of a difference. From an governance perspective, you're dealing with mobile and any device, not confined to PCs only. So it's on the go from anywhere. That's what it means. And as we know that the world is moving towards mobile technologies because it's more easy to use, and people have mobile devices more than PCs and PCs, etc. Exactly. And also, mobile devices can be used from anywhere, even in areas where you do not have a telephone lease line, for that matter, because 90% of the world mass today have a digital signal through mobile satellite devices. So wireless technology has advanced, and because of wireless technology, we are going to see governments and businesses moving towards mobile technology-based applications. So all what that means is nothing except that we're going to see an explosion of data more, because more people are going to access, more applications are going to be there, and we are going to see more data. And then again, technologies such as Hadoop, and open technology tools such as RapidMiner, databases such as MongoDB, they all are capable of dealing with this voluminous amount of unstructured data that, whether it be a government, whether it be a business, would be aggregating, collecting.
Well, that sounds very impressive. Okay, when we are going to talk about this pace of technology change, what do you feel about the learning curve? Does it take too much of time to for the current professionals to enter into this one, or from the new generation students to enter into these new technologies or to cope up with these advanced things?
Well, we know that we know that computing technology, that it changes very rapidly. It changes every 6 to 9 months if we have to go by Moore's law. So it's not, and it has been happening for the last 3 decades, and it's going to happen. If anything, I would see that it is picking up more momentum than in the past. But having said that, naturally, we are in a world where that it has moved towards a continuous learning world. We can't stop learning, or we cannot have a career saying that we have learned enough and then rest of our life we can depend on those skills. That era is over. The new era is about continuous learning, and partly and more so for the ICT industry. But however, since I'm in a campus, I would put it this way: those who are interested in the ICT world, they should have a good grounding, to me, in areas like mathematics. It'll be good to have a good grounding on basic stuff as discrete maths, computer architecture, and basic programming skills. If they have good quality programming skills, discrete maths, computing architecture, then they should be able to grasp any of these tools that comes our way. But having said that, but I wouldn't say that would be the only way to pick up your skills, because ICT is both pure science to me and also very much so applied science. So it depends on which side of the coin you want to belong to. But I would, of course, advise to students that it's always good to have a good grounding on the subjects I earlier mentioned, because computing is all about scientific stuff by and large, though it is also today very much integrated into the business processes and stuff. That's the applied side of it. So we are in an era of continuous learning. It's no different for ICT from other disciplines. Secondly, those who want to do well in this ICT area, there are a few ways to get there.
That's really impressive for us, because lifelong learning is one of our graduate attributes as well. Okay. One more question related to this learning curve. What do GSTF offers in this direction for the prospective cloud or IoT based students?
Sure. First of all, about GSTF, we do a couple of things. We firmly believe in it, particularly in this, again, intelligent world, intelligent age, ubiquitous world, the world of cloud computing. That means to us few things. First of all, it's about open source, open technologies, open access. The proprietary systems of the past is not the way forward. So GSTF, all what we do in the cloud computing space, big data, data science, business analytics, and now of course IoT, is all based on technology and all based on open source technologies. For your students, what we offer is the latest in terms of content for these technologies. We transfer the knowledge, transfer the skill sets that they can apply after finishing their degrees here or our programs.
To a bit of broader canvas, how do you find the agreement that you have made with Middle East College? They are the pioneers of IT training over this part of the world. How this can be able to take Oman to a part of this global momentum?
Well, I am really excited about this opportunity. I'm excited because the fact that MEC, I fully understand that you have over 5,000 students and a good portion of them focus on ICT. I'm told nearly 60% of that. That is a huge critical mass of 3,000 plus students pursuing ICT in one campus. That is really a sizable captive audience. I'm sure they will all go back to the industry and contribute to the economy of Oman. And here we are, our courses would enable them to go back to the industry and contribute in the leading edge technologies which are at the forefront of what's happening today. That is cloud computing, big data, data science, to recap again, and Internet of Things.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Anton. I wish all the success for your initiatives with MEC and GSTF for this collaboration.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.